You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. Police shared a possible motive for a murder-suicide that left 5 people dead in Nassau County. Virginia Huey has the story.
The entire family is now gone.
5 people were shot and killed in a murder-suicide at this home in the cul-de-sac on Wyoming Court in Syosset Sunday morning. Police say the gunman, 59-year-old Joseph DeLucia Jr., killed his niece and 3 siblings days after the family's matriarch died, and the family was planning to sell the house. Police say the thought of having to move from the only home he's lived in angered Joseph.
Because of that perception, he decided that day to get a loaded Mossberg shotgun, 12 gauge, approached them in the rear area of the house, and from the kitchen fired 12 shots, striking all 4 of them multiple times.
Police say Joseph then went to the front lawn, shouted incoherently before shooting himself in the chest.
41 years. That is probably one of the most horrific scenes I've ever seen.
Police say the victims were Joseph's sister, 69-year-old Joanne Kearns of Tampa, Florida, 63-year-old brother Frank DeLucia of Durham, North Carolina, and 64-year-old sister Tina Hammond and her daughter, 30-year-old Victoria Hammond, both of East Patchogue.
Just upbeat, bubbly.
Marion Powell says Tina and Victoria rented an apartment in her home in East Patchogue. Powell says she's horrified to hear about the murders.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Nobody should ever. I just don't know which one went first and who had to see what. That's all I'm thinking.
Tina worked as a cashier here at the meat farms in Bohemia for the past year and a half. The last time she was here was Saturday, the day before she was killed. Her co-workers are heartbroken.
She made a lot of friends as customers would come in. She helped train half the kids that are working here. And like I said, she was part of our family. She'll be missed terribly.
Police say neighbors heard Joseph make ominous comments prior to the murder-suicide.
Neighbors have reported that he has made statements in the past that if you hear gunshots, don't bother calling 911, it's going to be too late.
Police say this case highlights the importance of if you see or hear something, say something.
Let us look into it. We're not, we're here to help.
Friends and neighbors are now praying for the extended members of the DeLucia family.
My heart goes out to them. I'm so sorry.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
Now you can read more about this story. Just go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. A husband and wife pleaded guilty today for their involvement in a deadly fire. Peter Miller is facing criminally negligent homicide charges. His wife, Pamela, is facing charges for reckless endangerment. Now, the Suffolk DA says 2 sisters died at the couple's Hamptons rental home back in 2022 during a family vacation. Investigators say the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors were not connected properly, and the rental home had nearly 30 code violations. The Millers are due back in court in November. And 2 LIRR employees are locked in a battle against the railroad's zero-tolerance marijuana policy. Transportation reporter Alfonso Castillo has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
2 years after losing his job for testing positive for marijuana, a Long Island Railroad electrician is now back to work. But his union's fight against the railroad and its drug testing policy is far from over.
You're happy to hear that you're able to return back to work. But at the same time, I was very blown away by the decision not to make me whole.
Last year, Newsday brought you the story of Darren Drew and Ronald Doljenko, both LIRR electricians out of their jobs after testing positive for marijuana metabolites upon returning to work from extended medical leaves. Both men deny ever having used marijuana and believe medications they were taking triggered false positives.
They take you out of work right away, and then they give you a waiver that says, if you sign this, we're going to give you a 6-month suspension. If you don't sign it, you go to trial.
Doljenko opted to retire rather than risk punishment. Drew went to trial, lost, and was fired. A year later, there are new developments in both men's cases. A federal judge dismissed a lawsuit filed by Doljenko against the railroad, saying it wasn't the right venue to hear the case.
It was another dagger in the heart.
And an arbitrator ruled Drew should get his job back, but no back pay for the 22 months he was out of work. Drew, who returned to work in March, takes issue with the arbitrator, claiming he showed no remorse.
Why would I show remorse for something that I didn't do?
Drew is now looking to have a federal court throw out the arbitrator's ruling and Dolchenko intends to take his lawsuit to state court. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority has defended its LIRR marijuana policy, saying in a statement that the railroad will never compromise on customer or employee safety. But Ricardo Sanchez, who heads the LIRR Electricians Union, said the policy is unreasonable, punishing workers even for using marijuana on their own time. The railroad hasn't budged in its policy, even after New York State legalized recreational pot use in 2021.
It's not for the greater good. I mean, the law has changed, and they don't want to acknowledge it, and it's obscene.
In Patchogue, I'm Alfonso Castillo for Newsday TV.
Now, to read more about this story, go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. All right, so check your fridge because Walmart has recalled nearly 10,000 cases of apple juice. The FDA says the Great Value brand contains high amounts of, quote, inorganic arsenic. The recall is for the 6 packs of the 8-ounce bottles. Affected products have a best if used by date of December 28th, 2024. And the superintendent of a top Long Island school district is retiring.
I will be retiring on June 30, 2025.
Henry Grisham told an auditorium full of staff members the news today. Now, this will be his 30th year as superintendent. Jericho will be the first Long Island district to start classes on Wednesday. A federal emergency declaration has been issued for Suffolk County to aid disaster relief efforts after extreme rainfall. Florida journalist Kendall Rodriguez takes a look at one hard-hit neighborhood in Rocky Point.
I don't own anything anymore. Everything's gone. I mean, my 2 motorcycles are destroyed. My van, which is my business, is gone. 48 years of living is in this dumpster now. I went to bed at 10 o'clock that night and it wasn't raining. And then I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning because I started feeling wet. Got up and I walked around the house a little bit and it was just, the front of the house was full more with water. You could see the water line. So I came out here and my van was parked right where this dumpster is, and the only thing sticking out of the water was the top of my ladder rack. Fireman asked me, "You got any pants?" And I said, "There's a pair over there floating." So he threw them to me, put the pants on, he gave me a life preserver, and they pulled me out of here. We went back to the neighbor's house where we all linked up together and they took us up the properties, out the backyard until we were on the street behind us, These are $2,000 saddlebags from the Heritage.
The water that comes up from Rocky Point comes down here. Everything's downhill towards the Sound, just races down here. I mean, you could kayak down the road during nor'easters down here.
And I just saw a lake. And then I looked, the door to my basement is right there, which happened to be open, and I looked down and the water was all the way up to my top step.
Up to here is the line. So all this was full of water up to here. So I was in 5'11", so I was like there.
I'm sort of still traumatized, I believe. Every once in a while I get very emotional when I pick something up that reminds me of my family from Rhode Island, my family in New York, and I get very teary-eyed. That's because of my age also, but my wife is very emotional. She makes me emotional also, and every once in a while we just have to hug each other. Even now I'm getting choked up. Just thinking about it, I'm getting choked up.
Just trying to stay busy, because if you stop to think about it, you'll get depressed, you get sad, you feel like crying. But so you just stay busy, you're thankful nobody got hurt. Just think of getting new things and being happy that way. That's it.
A year from now, this will just be a terrible memory and life will be back to normal again.
We're going to rebuild again. 6 months ago we came here to retire and back to square one. Guess we have our health, we should be all right. A little older now than we were when we bought the house 45 years ago, but we'll survive. We'll survive.
Now, to read more about the recovery, go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Now let's take a look at your wet Long Island weather. Listen, it was a great weekend, but all good things have to come to an end. You can see tonight we have possible thunderstorms, and tomorrow we have temps in the 80s. Let's take a closer look at tomorrow. You can see we do have some clouds and temps are near 80s all day, but the 7-day forecast does not look too dry. You can see that we have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday rain, but for the week, it might stay nice and dry and sunny.
Long Island weather is brought to you by PTRC.
You're watching Newsday TV. I'm Ken Buffa. Thank you so much for joining us.